The rain hasn't stopped since I left. 3 years ago, I stood in front of her apartment with a bouquet of roses and a ring I'd saved 8 months to buy. She opened the door, looked at me like I was a stain on her marble floor, and said the words that still echo in my chest. "You're a loser, Daniel." And I can't be seen with a loser anymore. I didn't cry. Not then. I just nodded, left the flowers on her doorstep, and walked into the rain. That night, I disappeared. No calls, no goodbyes. I deleted every trace of the man I used to be, the one who worked 2 jobs to take her to fancy dinners, who believed love was enough. I rebuilt myself in silence. In basements and boardrooms. In the kind of hunger that comes from being erased by someone you'd have died for. Now, 3 years later, I'm standing in the lobby of the largest tech summit in the city. My face is on the cover of Forbes. My company just closed a deal worth more than she'll ever touch. And across the room, through the crowd of flashing cameras and champagne glasses, I see her. She's staring at me. And for the first time in 3 years, I smile. Because she doesn't recognize me yet. But she will. I met her in a coffee shop on a Tuesday that smelled like cinnamon and burnt espresso. It was one of those afternoons where the light falls through the window, at just the right angle, turning dust into something beautiful. I was sitting in the corner with my cracked laptop, the one held together by duct tape and hope, working on a logo for a client who'd probably ghost me by the weekend. That was my life then. Freelance graphic designer. No safety net. No backup plan. Just me and a dream I was too broke to afford. And then she walked in. She didn't just enter the room. She owned it. Her heels clicked against the tile like a metronome of confidence. Her hair caught the sunlight like spun gold, cascading over her shoulders in waves that looked effortless, but probably cost more than my rent. She wore a cream blazer, tailored perfectly, and carried herself like someone who'd never once doubted her place in the world. I went back to my work. Girls like that didn't notice guys like me. But then she sat down. Right by the window. Right across from where I was pretending not to stare. She ordered an oat milk latte, extra foam, and pulled out her phone. I watched her for longer than I should have. The way she tucked her hair behind her ear. The way her lips moved slightly as she read something on her screen. The way the light framed her like she was a painting I'd never be good enough to design. And then she looked up. Our eyes met. She smiled. Not the polite smile you give strangers. A real one. Warm. Curious. Like she saw something in me I didn't know was there. I panicked. I looked down. Pretended to be absorbed in my work. But my hands were shaking on the keyboard. A minute later, she was standing next to my table. Is this seat taken? I blinked. No. No. Go ahead. She sat down across from me, set her latte on the table, and tilted her head slightly. You're a designer? I glanced at my screen. A half-finished logo stared back at me. Yeah. Freelance. Mostly startups. Small businesses. You know. The ones that can't afford the big agencies yet. Yet, she repeated, smiling. I like that. Optimistic. I shrugged. Or delusional. Depends on the day. She laughed. And it wasn't polite. It was genuine. The kind of laugh that makes you want to say funnier things just to hear it again. I'm Vanessa. She said, extending her hand. Daniel. Her handshake was firm. Confident. Everything I wasn't. So what do you do, Vanessa? I asked, trying to sound casual. Marketing. I work for a luxury brand. We do a lot of product launches, influencer campaigns, that sort of thing. She said it like it was nothing. Like she didn't work in a world I could barely afford to window shop in. That sounds impressive. It's exhausting. She said, leaning back in her chair. Everyone's fake. Everyone's trying to sell you something. It's nice to meet someone who seems real. Real. That word hit me harder than it should have. We talked for 3 hours. She told me about her job, the pressure, the impossible deadlines, the boss who expected perfection and gave nothing in return. She told me about her ex-some banker with a corner office and a wandering eye. She told me she was tired of men who treated relationships like transactions. I told her about my parents. How they died in a car accident when I was 19, leaving me with student debt and funeral bills I was still paying off. How I dropped out of college to work 2 jobs just to survive. How I taught myself design on YouTube and cheap software because I couldn't afford the real thing. She listened. Really listened. Not the way people do when they're waiting for their turn to talk. But the way that makes you feel like your words matter. At some point, her hand crossed the table and touched mine. You're different, Daniel, she said softly. Her eyes held mine, and for a moment, I forgot how to breathe. You're real. I wanted to believe her. God, I wanted to believe her so badly. When the coffee shop started closing, I walked her to her car. A sleek white Audi parked 2 blocks away. Of course. She turned to face me, her back against the driver's door, and smiled. This was really nice. Yeah, I said, shoving my hands into my hoodie pockets because I didn't know what else to do with them. It was. She leaned in. Kissed me on the cheek. Soft. Quick. But enough to make my heart forget how to beat properly. Let's do this again, she said. I nodded. I'd like that. She got in her car. Waved. Drove away. I stood there on the sidewalk for a long time, watching her taillights disappear into the city, feeling like I'd just found something I didn't know I'd been searching for. I walked home in a daze. Floated up the stairs to my tiny apartment. Sat down at my desk. And I stayed up all night, designing a logo for her company. I didn't charge her. I didn't even ask if she wanted it. I just made it. Poured everything I had into it. Every ounce of skill, every bit of hope, every desperate need to prove that I was worth noticing. By the time the sun came up, it was done. Clean. Modern. Perfect. I sent it to her email with a subject line that said, "Just a little thank you for the coffee and conversation." I thought maybe she'd reply in the morning. Maybe the afternoon. She texted me at 2 a.m. the next night. "You're sweet. I like you." I read that message 50 times. Sweet. I should have paid more attention to that word. Should have realized what it really meant. Because sweet isn't what you call someone you admire. It's not what you say to someone you respect. Sweet is what you call someone you'll never take seriously. But I didn't know that yet. I was too busy falling. The next 6 months were a dream I didn't want to wake from. Vanessa became my entire world. Not gradually. Not slowly. All at once, like falling into water and forgetting how to swim. We spent our weekends in places I couldn't afford. Art galleries with entry fees that made me wince. Rooftop bars where a cocktail cost more than my grocery budget for the week. Michelin-starred restaurants where I had to Google how to pronounce half the menu. And every time, I paid. She never asked me to. But I wanted to. I needed to. Because every time I handed over my card, the one that was always dangerously close to maxed out, I felt like I was proving something. Like I was saying, "See, I can give you this life. I can be enough." She'd smile. Kiss my cheek. Say, "You're so good to me, babe." And I'd feel like a king. At night, I'd go home to my cramped apartment and work until 4 a.m. to make up for the money I'd spent. My freelance projects were picking up. Startups. Small businesses. Entrepreneurs who were just as broke as me but had bigger dreams. I was designing logos, building websites, creating brands from nothing. I was good. Really good. And people were starting to notice. But Vanessa never asked about my work. Not really. She'd say, "How was your day?" In the same tone you'd ask someone about the weather. Surface level. Polite. I'd start to tell her about a new client or a design I was proud of, and her eyes would glaze over. She'd check her phone. She'd change the subject. "That's great, babe. Hey, did I tell you about the campaign we're launching next week?" And I'd listen. Because that's what I did. I listened to every word she said, like it was scripture. She started posting photos of us on Instagram. Always the same composition. Her in the center, glowing, perfect. Me in the background. Slightly out of focus. Cropped just enough that you couldn't quite tell who I was. Her friends would comment. "Who's that? New guy. Cute. What's his name?" She'd reply with a winking emoji. Sometimes a heart. But never my name. I told myself it didn't matter. That I was being insecure. That she was just private. But late at night, when I couldn't sleep, I'd scroll through her feed and stare at those photos. At the way I was always just out of frame. Always blurred. Always optional. One Saturday morning, I woke at 7 a.m. Even though I'd only gone to bed 3 hours earlier. I made her favorite coffee, oat milk latte, extra foam, 1 pump, of vanilla, and drove across town to her apartment. She answered the door in a silk robe, hair messy, eyes still half closed. "You brought me coffee?" she murmured, taking the cup. Of course. She kissed me. Tasted like sleep and expensive skincare. "You're the best." I wanted to ask if she knew how tired I was, if she noticed the circles under my eyes, if she cared that I was running myself into the ground just to keep up with her world. But I didn't. Because I was terrified that if I asked, she'd realize I wasn't worth the effort. The first real crack came on a Thursday night in October. She invited me to her company's annual gala. Black tie. Networking. The kind of event where everyone's name tag might as well say I'm more successful than you. I rented a suit. Spent money I didn't have on a decent haircut. Showed up early because I didn't want to embarrass her by being late. She looked stunning. A black dress that hugged every curve, her hair swept up in a way that made her look like old Hollywood royalty. She kissed me when I arrived, but it was quick. Distracted. "You look great," I said. "Thanks. You too. Come on, I need to introduce you to some people." She led me through the crowd, her hand barely touching mine. We stopped at a circle of executives. Her boss, a man in his 50s with silver hair and a Rolex that could have paid my rent for a year, turned to greet her. "Vanessa. You look incredible." "Thank you, Richard." She smiled. The kind of smile she never gave me. Bright. Effortless. Richard's eyes flicked to me. "And who's this?" Vanessa hesitated. It was less than a second. Maybe half. But I felt it. "This is Daniel," she said. "A friend." A friend. The words punched through my chest like cold steel. Richard nodded politely, already losing interest. "Nice to meet you." The conversation moved on. Vanessa laughed at something. Richard said. I stood there, holding a glass of champagne I didn't want, feeling like I'd just been erased. On the drive home, I couldn't stay quiet anymore. "Why did you call me your friend?" She glanced at me, surprised. "What? At the gala? When your boss asked who I was? You said I was a friend." She laughed. Light. Dismissive. "Baby. You're overthinking." "Am I?" She reached over, squeezed my hand. Her fingers were warm. Familiar. "You know I love you." I wanted to believe her. But the way she said it felt rehearsed. Like a line she'd practiced in the mirror until it sounded convincing. "Then why didn't you say that?" "Because it's complicated, Daniel." Her voice had an edge now. Irritation creeping in. "My boss doesn't need to know about my personal life. That's all." "Right." I said quietly. "That's all." She sighed. "Don't do this. Don't make this into something it's not." But it already was. When we got back to her apartment, she kissed me. Deep. Desperate. Like she was trying to erase the conversation we'd just had. And I let her. Because I wanted to believe that the way she touched me was the truth, that the words didn't matter, that I was enough. But late that night, after she'd fallen asleep beside me, I lay awake staring at the ceiling. And I realized something I'd been too afraid to admit. She didn't love me. She loved the way I made her feel. The way I showed up. The way I paid. The way I never asked for more than she was willing to give. I was convenient. Safe. Forgettable. I kissed her forehead. She didn't stir. And I told myself I'd leave. That I'd walk away before it got worse. But I didn't. Because I didn't know how to let go of someone who'd made me feel like I mattered. Even if it was a lie. It happened at her birthday party. A party I'd helped plan for 3 weeks. A party I'd poured everything into because I wanted her to feel celebrated. To feel loved. To feel like she'd chosen the right person. I coordinated with her friends, women who barely acknowledged my existence but were happy to let me do the work. I booked the venue, a rooftop lounge downtown with floor-to-ceiling windows and a view of the city lights. I designed the invitations myself, sleek and modern, with her name embossed in gold foil. I even paid for half of it, despite the fact that she earned 3 times what I did. I didn't care. I wanted it to be perfect. The night of the party. I arrived 2 hours early. I set up the decorations. Checked the lighting. Made sure the champagne was chilled and the playlist was exactly what she wanted. And I brought her a gift. It was a painting. Custom. Something I'd been working on for over a month in secret. I'd stayed up until dawn more nights than I could count. Perfecting every brushstroke. Every shade of light. It was her, sitting by the window in that coffee shop where we'd met, the afternoon sun pouring over her like liquid gold, her face turned slightly, caught in a moment of thought. Peaceful. Beautiful. Real. I'd poured my heart into it. Every ounce of love I had. Every memory. Every hope. When she arrived, she looked breathtaking. A champagne-colored dress that shimmered under the lights. Her hair in loose curls. Makeup flawless. She walked in like she was walking onto a red carpet. She kissed me quickly. "Everything looks amazing, babe. I have something for you," I said, pulling the wrapped canvas from behind the gift table. She took it, barely glancing at me, already scanning the room to see who'd arrived. "Open it," I said. She tore the paper with one hand, still distracted. When the painting was revealed, she paused. Looked at it for maybe 3 seconds. "Oh. That's nice. Thanks, babe." She handed it to one of her friends to set aside and turned back to the crowd. "Nice." I stood there holding my breath, waiting for more. Waiting for her to see what I'd put into it. waiting for her to realize that I'd painted her the way I saw her. Like she was art. But she was already gone. The party filled up fast. Her coworkers. Her college friends. People in designer clothes and expensive watches. I didn't know most of them. And the ones I did know didn't bother to remember my name. I stayed in the background. Refilled drinks. Made sure everything ran smoothly. Watched her laugh and glow and own the room the way she always did. And then he showed up. Her ex. The banker. Tall. Polished. Suit that probably cost more than my entire wardrobe. Hair slicked back. Smile sharp enough to cut glass. He walked in like he owned the place. Like he'd never left. Vanessa's face lit up. I'd never seen her look at me like that. She rushed over to him. Hugged him. Laughed at something he said. Touched his arm in that casual, familiar way that made my stomach turn. I stood by the bar, gripping my glass too tightly, watching them. They talked for 20 minutes. Maybe more. I lost track. She leaned in close. He whispered something in her ear. She threw her head back and laughed. I felt invisible. And then he looked over at me. Hey, Vanessa, he said, loud enough for half the room to hear. Who's the guy in the hoodie? I wasn't wearing a hoodie. I was wearing the nicest button-down I owned. But that's how he saw me. How they all saw me. Vanessa turned. Her eyes landed on me. And I saw it. Not love. Not affection. Not even pity. Embarrassment. She waved her hand dismissively. Oh, that's Daniel. He's just, you know. She laughed. Light. Casual. Cruel. A loser I'm helping out. The room went silent. Then someone laughed. Then someone else. Then everyone. The sound crashed over me like a wave. Laughter. Loud. Merciless. I stood there, holding a glass of champagne I didn't want to drink, my heart hammering so hard I thought it would break through my ribs. A loser. That's what I was to her. Not her boyfriend. Not her partner. Not someone she loved. Her charity case. The guy she kept around because it made her feel good about herself. Because I made her life easier. Because I was convenient. I set the glass down on the bar. My hands were shaking. No one noticed. I walked toward the exit. Slowly. Quietly. Vanessa didn't follow. I made it to the elevator before the tears came. I rode down 50 floors in silence. Staring at my reflection in the polished metal doors. I looked exactly like what she'd called me. A loser. I walked out into the night. The city was alive around me. Cars. People. Noise. But I felt like I was moving through water. Everything muffled. Distant. I walked for hours. I didn't know where I was going. I just walked. At some point, it started to rain. Cold. Heavy. The kind that soaks through your clothes in seconds. I didn't care. I stood in the middle of an empty park, rain pouring down, and I let myself break. I cried. Not the silent kind. The kind that rips out of your chest like something dying. The kind that leaves you hollow. I'd given her everything. Every minute, every dollar, every piece of my heart, and she'd taken it all and called me a loser in front of a room full of people. My phone buzzed. A text from her. Where did you go? People are asking about you. I stared at it. Then I blocked her number. I walked home, changed into dry clothes. Sat at my desk. And I made a decision. I wasn't going to beg. I wasn't going to explain. I wasn't going to give her the satisfaction of seeing me broken. I was going to disappear. And when I came back, I'd be someone she couldn't touch. Couldn't dismiss. Couldn't call a loser ever again. I opened my laptop. Deleted every social media account. Unfollowed every mutual friend. Erased myself from the world we'd shared. The last thing I did before shutting my computer was look at the painting I'd made her. The one she'd called nice and set aside like trash. I thought about destroying it. Burning it. Letting it go the way she'd let me go. But I didn't. I packed it away. In a box. In the back of my closet. Because one day, I'd be someone who deserved to create something that beautiful. And she'd be nothing but a memory I survived. I didn't answer her calls for 2 days. She left 17 voicemails, 32 texts. I didn't read any of them. I didn't listen to a single message. I just let my phone buzz on the kitchen counter while I sat in the dark and stared at the wall. I didn't eat. Didn't sleep. Didn't cry anymore. I just sat there. Numb. Hollow. Trying to figure out how I'd let someone turn me into this. On the third day, she showed up. I heard her knocking before I saw her. 3 sharp raps, then her voice, muffled through the door. Daniel. Open up. I know you're in there. I didn't move. Daniel, come on. Don't be childish. Childish. That word unlocked something in me. I stood. Walked to the door. Opened it. She was standing there, looking perfect as always. Hair glossy. Makeup flawless. Designer bag on her shoulder. Like she'd just come from brunch with friends and decided to stop by on a whim. I looked like I'd been hit by a truck. She stepped inside without asking. God, Daniel. You look terrible. Thanks. She sighed, setting her bag on my couch. Look, I came here to talk. You can't just ignore me like this. Can't I? She turned to face me, her expression halfway between annoyance and concern. You're being dramatic. Dramatic, I repeated, tasting the word. It was bitter. You called me a loser in front of 50 people, Vanessa. She rolled her eyes. It was a joke, Daniel. You know I didn't mean it. Do I? Yes, she said, sharper now. Because you know me. You know how I talk. You know I was just playing around. Playing around. I laughed. It sounded hollow. That's what this is to you. She crossed her arms. You're too sensitive. This is exactly why we don't work in public. You take everything so personally. Because it is personal. My voice cracked. I hated that. You humiliated me. I didn't. She stopped. Took a breath. Softened her tone. Okay. Look. I'm sorry, all right? I shouldn't have said it like that. But you have to understand, Daniel. My world is different. Those people, they judge. They talk. I can't just bring anyone into that space. Anyone, I echoed. That's what I am to you. Anyone. That's not what I meant. Then what did you mean, Vanessa? I stepped closer. Because from where I'm standing, it sounds like you're embarrassed by me. Like I'm not good enough to be seen with you. She hesitated. Just for a second. But it was enough. It's not about being good enough. She said quietly. It's about stability. You're still building. You're still figuring things out. And I need someone who's already there. Stability. The word hung in the air between us like smoke. I work 16-hour days, I said, my voice barely above a whisper. I've given you everything I have. I pay for dinners I can't afford. I stay up all night working so I can take you coffee in the morning. I've built my entire life around making sure you're happy. And you're telling me I'm not stable enough. Her eyes softened. She reached up, touched my face. Her hand was warm. Familiar. Daniel, I know you work hard. I do. And I appreciate it. But I need someone who can keep up with me. Not someone I have to carry. Carry. That was it. The final crack. The one that split me open. I stepped back. Her hand fell. Then let me go, I said. She blinked. What? Let me go. She stared at me like I'd just spoken a language she didn't understand. Like the idea that I would walk away from her was incomprehensible. You don't mean that, she said. Her voice uncertain for the first time. I do. Daniel. I can't do this anymore, Vanessa. My voice broke again. I didn't try to hide it. I can't keep giving everything I have to someone who sees me as a burden. I don't see you as a burden. Yes, you do. I looked at her. Really looked at her. You've spent 6 months making me feel like I'm not enough. Like I'm lucky you're even here. And maybe I believed that for a while. But I'm done. She took a step toward me. Daniel, please. Don't do this. I care about you. No, you don't. I said it calmly. You care about what I do for you. But you don't care about me. Tears welled in her eyes. For a moment, I thought they were real. That's not true. Isn't it? Silence. She wiped her eyes. Straightened her posture. And when she spoke again, her voice was cold. Fine, she said. Go. See how far you get without me. I felt the words like a slap. She grabbed her bag. Walked to the door. Stopped with her hand on the handle. You're going to regret this, she said without turning around. You'll realize you need me. And by then, I'll be gone. She left. The door closed behind her with a soft click. I stood there in the middle of my apartment, alone, and I waited for the regret she promised. But it didn't come. Instead, I felt something else. Relief. I walked to my desk. Opened my laptop. Stared at the blank screen. And I made a promise to myself. She'll never see me coming. I would disappear. Completely. No trace. No updates. No chance for her to see me struggle or fail or beg for her back. I would rebuild myself in silence. In the dark. In the kind of hunger that comes from being erased by someone you'd have died for. And when I came back, I wouldn't be the man she left. I'd be the man she couldn't have. I opened a new document. Started writing. Not a letter. Not an explanation. A plan. I would leave this city. Take a job somewhere no one knew me. Learn new skills. Build something bigger than anything I'd ever dreamed of. I'd work until my hands bled. Until my body gave out. Until I became someone unrecognizable. And then, when I was ready, I'd return. Not for her. Not for revenge. For me. To prove that I was never the loser, she said, I was. I worked through the night. Through the next day. Through the next week. I applied to 50 jobs. Got rejected by 49. Took the 50th position at a tech startup in another city. Paying half what I made freelancing. I didn't care. I packed everything I owned into 2 suitcases. Left the painting in the closet. Left the memories behind. And I disappeared. The rain hadn't stopped since I left. But I didn't look back. Not once. I vanished the next morning. No goodbye posts. No final messages. No forwarding address. I deleted every social media account, blocked every mutual friend, and erased every trace of the man I used to be. The man who believed love was enough. The man who thought effort equaled worth. The man who let someone call him a loser and didn't walk away sooner. That man was dead. And I buried him without ceremony. I moved to a city 3 states away. A place where no one knew my name. Where I could start over in complete anonymity. I took a job at a tech startup, some scrappy company with big dreams and no budget. They paid me half of what I used to make freelancing. I took it anyway. Because I wasn't looking for money. I was looking for a battlefield. A place to pour every ounce of rage and heartbreak and humiliation into something that would outlast the pain. I rented a studio apartment that smelled like mildew and old carpet. 1 window. A mattress on the floor. A desk I found on the street. That was it. I didn't need anything else. I worked 16-hour days. Then 18. Then 20. Time stopped meaning anything. I'd wake up at 5 a.m. Code until my eyes burned. Go to the office. Pitch ideas. Get rejected. Go home. And start again. I lived on instant ramen and black coffee. I lost weight. My reflection started to look like someone I didn't recognize. Sharper. Hungrier. Hollow in a way that felt dangerous. I learned to code. Not just the basics, I went deep. I devoured tutorials, tore apart open source projects, stayed up until 4 a.m. debugging programs that didn't even matter. I taught myself product design, user experience, marketing, business strategy. I became a Swiss Army knife. A one-man company. And every time I wanted to quit, every time my body screamed at me to stop, every time my mind whispered that I wasn't good enough, I thought of her face. The way she'd looked at me that night. The way she'd laughed. The way she'd said, "He's just a loser I'm helping out." I used it. I let it burn in my chest like gasoline. I let it fuel every decision, every all-nighter, every pitch that got rejected, every investor who said no. Loser. I'd prove her wrong. Even if it killed me. 6 months in, I pitched an idea to my boss, a design platform for freelancers like me. A place where people who couldn't afford expensive agencies could build professional brands on their own. He shot it down in 30 seconds. So I built it anyway. I worked on it at night. On weekends. During lunch breaks. I poured every skill I'd learned into it. Every connection I'd made. Every favor I could call in. I called it Foundry. A year after I left, I launched it. It had 50 users the first week. Then 500. Then 5,000. Freelancers started messaging me. Telling me it changed their lives. That it gave them opportunities they'd never had before. I didn't celebrate. I just kept building. By the end of year 2, Foundry had 1 million users. Venture capital firms started reaching out. Investors I used to dream about impressing were now calling me. I closed a Series A for $8 million. I didn't tell anyone. I didn't post about it. I didn't gloat. I just kept working. I hired a team. Built a real office. Scaled the platform. Launched new features. Listened to feedback. Iterated. Grew. I became obsessed with excellence. Not for applause. Not for validation. For proof. Proof that I was never what she said I was. By year 3, I sold Foundry for $83 million. I was 28 years old. And I was a multimillionaire. I could have stopped. Could have retired. Could have bought a house on a beach somewhere and never worked again. But I didn't. Because revenge isn't about the money. It's about becoming so untouchable, so undeniable, that when they finally see you again, they realize they never really knew you at all. I started a second company. Then a third. I got invited to speak at conferences. My face ended up on the cover of Forbes. Entrepreneur. Fast company. People started recognizing me. Investors. Founders. CEOs. They'd shake my hand and say, "I've been following your work. You're doing incredible things. And I'd smile. Thank them. Move on. Because none of it was for them. I didn't date. Didn't go out. Didn't let anyone get close. I was a machine, efficient, focused, untouchable. People called me driven. Visionary. A genius. What they didn't know was that I was just a guy who'd been broken so completely that the only way to survive was to rebuild myself into something unbreakable. 3 years. That's how long it took. 3 years of silence. Of work. Of becoming someone new. And then, one day, I got an invitation. A tech summit. The biggest one in the country. They wanted me to speak on a panel about startup success. I almost said no. But then I saw the location. The city where it all started. The city I'd left in the rain with nothing but a suitcase and a broken heart. The city where she still lived. I accepted. Not because I wanted to see her. Not because I needed her to see me. But because I wanted to walk through the place that had destroyed me and feel nothing. I wanted to prove to myself that I was free. The night before the summit, I stood in my hotel room, looking out at the city lights. It looked different, or maybe I did. I thought about the man I used to be. The one who wore hoodies, with coffee stains and believed that love was enough. I wondered if he'd be proud of me. Or if he'd be horrified by what I'd become. I didn't know. But I knew one thing. I wasn't him anymore. I was someone she'd never recognize. Someone she could never hurt again. I put on my suit. Tailored. Expensive. The kind that costs more than I used to make in 3 months. I looked at myself in the mirror. Sharp. Confident. Cold. I barely recognized myself. And that was the point. I walked into the summit the next morning with my head high and my heart empty. The lobby was packed. Investors. Founders. Press. Everyone who mattered in the tech world. And somewhere in that crowd, I knew, was her. I didn't look for her. I didn't need to. Because the next time she saw me, it wouldn't be as the man she left. It would be as the man she couldn't have. And that, I realized, was the only revenge worth having. She doesn't recognize me at first. I'm standing backstage, waiting for my cue, when I glance through the curtain and see her in the 3rd row. She's sitting with a group of marketing executives, all polished smiles and expensive jewelry. She looks exactly the same, hair perfect, posture flawless. That same effortless confidence that used to make me feel like I was drowning just trying to keep up. But I'm not drowning anymore. The moderator calls my name. The crowd applauds. I step onto the stage, and the lights hit me like a wall of heat. I don't look at her. Not yet. I take my seat on the panel. 4 other entrepreneurs beside me. All of them older. More experienced. But I'm the one they introduced last. The one they called the breakout success of the year. The moderator starts with me. Daniel, your company Foundry revolutionized the freelance design space in less than 3 years. What was the turning point for you? I smile. Not the nervous smile I used to give. The kind that's earned. The kind that comes from knowing exactly who you are. The turning point, I say, was realizing that I didn't need anyone's permission to build something great. I just needed to stop waiting for validation and start creating value. The crowd murmurs in agreement. Someone claps. And that's when I let myself look at her. Her eyes are wide. Mouth slightly open. She's staring at me like she's seeing a ghost. I hold her gaze for exactly 2 seconds. Then, I look away. The panel continues. I answer questions with ease. I'm articulate. Funny. The crowd laughs when I want them to. They lean in when I need them to listen. This isn't luck. This is 3 years of becoming someone who belongs on this stage. When it's over, the room stands and applauds. I shake hands with the other panelists. Thank the moderator. And then I walk off stage. Toward the exit. She's waiting for me by the door. Daniel. I stop. Turn slowly. Let her see me fully for the first time. She looks nervous. I've never seen her nervous. Vanessa. I say. My voice is calm. Detached. Like she's someone I barely remember. I didn't know you'd be here. She's stammering. You look different. Successful. I smile. Not warm. Just polite. I am. She laughs, but it's shaky. Uncertain. I saw the articles. About Foundry. About the acquisition. I can't believe you. She stops herself. Swallows. I can't believe you built all that. Why not? The question hangs between us. She blinks. I just mean. It's incredible. You're incredible. Thank you. Silence. She steps closer. I can smell her perfume. The same one she used to wear. It used to make my heart race. Now it just reminds me of someone I used to be. Daniel, I need to talk to you, she says quietly. About. About us. About what happened. There's nothing to talk about. Yes, there is. Her voice cracks. I was awful to you. I know that. I've thought about it so much. About you. About what I said. Have you? Yes. She reaches for my arm. I don't pull away, but I don't lean in either. I was scared. I didn't know how to handle what we had. I was young and stupid and you called me a loser in front of 50 people. Her face flushes. I know. I'm so sorry. I didn't mean it. Yes, you did. I didn't. Vanessa. I say her name gently. Firmly. You meant every word. You were embarrassed by me. You thought I wasn't good enough. And you were right. She looks like I just slapped her. I wasn't good enough. I continue. Not for you. Not for that world. Not even for myself. But I'm not that person anymore. I can see that, she whispers. And I'm sorry. I'm so sorry, Daniel. I've thought about you every day. I've wanted to reach out so many times, but I didn't know how. I didn't think you'd want to hear from me. I didn't. She flinches. But it doesn't matter now, I say. Because I'm not angry. I'm not hurt. I'm just done. Done. With you. With us. With all of it. Her eyes fill with tears. Real ones. Please don't say that. Please. Just give me a chance to explain. To make it right. There's nothing to make right, Vanessa. You were honest about who you were. I just wasn't ready to see it. I've changed. She says desperately. I'm not that person anymore. Maybe. I take a step back. But I'm not the same either. The man you knew, the one who would have done anything for you, he's gone. And I'm not interested in becoming him again. She's crying now. Quietly. Tears streaking down her perfect makeup. Daniel, please. Her voice breaks. I loved you. I look at her. Really look at her. And I feel nothing. No anger. No longing. No bitterness. Just distance. No, you didn't. I say softly. You loved the idea of me. The version that served you. But the moment I needed you to love the real me, you walked away. That's not fair. It's the truth. Silence. She wipes her eyes, tries to compose herself. So that's it? You're just going to walk away? Yes. After everything we had. We didn't have anything, Vanessa. I had feelings. You had convenience. She opens her mouth. Closes it. No words come out. I turn toward the exit. Daniel, wait. I stop. Look back one last time. I hope you find what you're looking for. I say. I really do. But it's not me. I walk out of the building. Into the sunlight. Into the noise of the city. And I don't look back. My phone buzzes. A text from my assistant. You have 3 interview requests and a dinner meeting with a potential investor tonight. Confirm? I text back, confirmed. I get into a car. The driver asks where I'm going. Anywhere, I say. He pulls into traffic. I lean back in my seat, close my eyes, and exhale. 3 years. 3 years of work. Of pain. Of transformation. And it all led to this. Not revenge. Not vindication. Freedom. I open my eyes. Look out the window at the city passing by. And for the first time in 3 years, I smile. Not because she saw me, but because I finally saw myself. She doesn't stop trying. The first text comes that night. I meant what I said. I'm sorry. Can we talk? I delete it. The next morning. There's an email. Subject, please read this. I archive it without opening. By the end of the week, she sent 12 messages across 3 platforms, texts, emails, even a LinkedIn request that I decline without a second thought. Then the handwritten letter arrives. It's delivered to my office, an address she must have found through a press release or an article. The envelope is cream-colored. Expensive. My name is written in her careful, elegant handwriting. I hold it for a long time. Part of me wants to burn it. Part of me wants to read it. I do neither. I set it on my desk and get back to work. But it stays there, for days, staring at me like an accusation. She starts showing up. At industry events. Gallery openings. Networking mixers. Places she knows I'll be. She's always dressed like she's auditioning. Like she's trying to remind me of what I used to want. What I used to dream about having. She'll catch my eye across the room. Smile. Wave. I nod politely. Then I turn away. Every time, I watch her face fall. Good. 2 weeks after the summit, I'm at a gallery opening. Some pretentious modern art exhibit downtown. I'm only here because one of my investors is hosting it. I'm standing in front of a painting, an abstract piece that looks like someone threw paint at a canvas and called it vision. When I feel her presence beside me, it's supposed to represent chaos and rebirth, she says softly. I don't look at her. Is that what the artist said, or what you want it to mean? Does it matter? I guess not. Silence. She shifts closer. I can feel the heat of her body. The perfume. The desperation. You've been ignoring me, she says. I have. Why? I finally turn to face her. She looks different tonight. Vulnerable. Her makeup isn't as perfect. Her hair is a little looser. Her eyes are red, like she's been crying. Because there's nothing left to say, Vanessa. There's everything to say. Her voice cracks. Daniel, please. Just give me 5 minutes. That's all I'm asking. I glance at my watch. You have 3. She blinks, surprised I agreed. Then she takes a breath, steadying herself. I know I hurt you. She begins. I know I was terrible. Selfish. Cruel. And I've spent every day since then hating myself for it. Good. She flinches. But she continues. I didn't know what I had when I had you. I took you for granted. I thought you'd always be there, waiting, no matter how badly I treated you. And when you left, I told myself it was, for the best, that you'd come crawling back. That you needed me. I did need you. I say quietly. Once. Her eyes fill with tears. And now I don't. She sobs. Just once. A sharp, broken sound that echoes in the quiet gallery. I loved you, she whispers. I did. I didn't know how to. You loved the idea of me, I say. The guy who'd do anything for you. The guy who'd pay for dinners he couldn't afford and stay up all night just to make you smile. But the moment I needed you to do the same, the moment I needed you to stand by me, to defend me, to see me, you called me a loser and laughed. I was scared. So was I, Vanessa. My voice is calm, but there's steel underneath. Every single day. I was terrified that I wasn't enough. That I'd lose you. That you'd realize I didn't belong in your world. And you know what? I was right. But I stayed anyway. I fought for us. And you gave up the moment it got hard. She's fully crying now, mascara running down her cheeks. I know I did. And I hate myself for it. That's not my problem. She looks up at me, eyes desperate. Please, Daniel. Just give me one more chance. I've changed. I've grown. I see you now. The real you. No, you don't. I shake my head. You see the version of me that's successful, the one that's valuable. The one you think you missed out on. But if I was still that broke freelancer in the hoodie, you wouldn't be here. That's not true. Isn't it? Silence. She opens her mouth. Closes it. Can't find the words. Because we both know I'm right. I gave you every chance. I say quietly. Every opportunity to see me. To choose me. And you spent them all. So, no, Vanessa. You don't get another one. Her face crumples. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I know. Then why won't you forgive me? I look at her, really look at her, and I feel the strangest thing. Nothing. No anger. No love. No resentment. No longing. Just distance. I do forgive you, I say. And I mean it. But forgiveness doesn't mean reconciliation. It just means I'm not carrying you with me anymore. She stares at me, heartbroken. So that's it, we're just done. We were done 3 years ago, Vanessa. You just didn't realize it. I turn to leave. She grabs my arm. Daniel, please. I stop. Look down at her hand on my sleeve. Then at her face. Let go. I say gently. She does. And I walk away. I hear her crying behind me. Soft. Broken sobs that echo through the gallery. People are starting to stare. I don't look back. I step out into the cool night air, and I breathe. My phone buzzes. A text from my assistant. Dinner meeting cancelled. You're free tonight. I smile. Free. I decide to walk. No destination. Just movement. The city is alive around me, lights, voices, the hum of traffic. But I feel separate from it. Like I'm watching it all from somewhere far away. I pass the coffee shop where we met. It's still there. Same windows. Same tables. I stop. Look inside. A young couple is sitting by the window. She's laughing. He's staring at her like she hung the moon. I used to be him. I hope he's smarter than I was. I keep walking. And for the first time in 3 years, I feel light. Not because I hurt her. Not because I won. But because I finally let her go. 6 months. That's how long it took for the weight to lift. Not all at once, no. Healing never works like that. It came in pieces. A morning I woke up without her name in my throat. A night I laughed without remembering I wasn't supposed to. A moment I looked in the mirror and recognized the man staring back. I moved into a penthouse on the west side of the city. Floor-to-ceiling windows. A view that stretched beyond the skyline, into something that felt like freedom. The place was empty at first, just me, a couch, and the echo of my footsteps on hardwood floors. But slowly, I filled it. Not with things. With presence. With quiet confidence. With the kind of peace you earn after war. I stopped checking her profile. Stopped wondering if she saw my posts, my success, my face on magazine covers. The revenge I thought I needed turned out to be a trap, one I had to walk away from to truly be free. I wasn't running anymore. I was living. And then I met her. Her name was Maya. I wasn't looking. That's the irony. After everything, I'd convinced myself I didn't need anyone. That love was a luxury I couldn't afford. But life has a way of showing up when you stop searching. It was a hackathon downtown. I went because a startup I'd invested in was competing. I didn't plan to participate, I was there to observe, to network, maybe grab a drink and leave early. But then I saw her. She was seated at a corner table, headphones on, fingers flying across her keyboard like she was conducting a symphony, dark hair tied in a messy bun. Oversized hoodie. No makeup. No pretense. Just raw focus. I watched her for longer than I should have. When the final round started, we ended up on opposite teams. The challenge: build a functional prototype in 2 hours. I was confident. My team was stacked with developers from top firms. But Maya's team won. And she was the reason why. Afterward, I found her by the coffee station, pouring herself a cup with hands still trembling from the adrenaline. That was impressive, I said, stepping beside her. She glanced up, startled. Then smiled. You're the guy from the losing team? Ouch. I laughed. Yeah. That's me. Don't feel bad, she said, stirring her coffee slowly. You were close. Your algorithm was solid. You just missed the edge case in the data validation. I blinked. You analyzed my code? I analyze everything. She shrugged, but there was a warmth in her voice. Occupational hazard. I liked her immediately. Let me buy you a real coffee, I offered. To celebrate. You earned it. She studied me for a moment, as if deciding whether I was worth her time. Then she nodded. Okay. But only if you tell me why a billionaire investor is slumming it at a hackathon. I grinned. Deal. We talked for 4 hours. Not about money. Not about status. We talked about ideas. About the things that kept us awake at night, not in pain, but in wonder. She told me about her project, an AI designed to help underserved communities access legal resources. I told her about my journey. Not the highlight reel. The truth. I told her about Vanessa. I told her about the shame. The rage. The 3 years I spent building walls so high I forgot what the sky looked like. Maya listened without judgment. Without pity. And when I finished, she set down her cup and said, simply, sounds like she didn't deserve you. I felt something crack open in my chest. She didn't. But I didn't deserve me either. Not back then. She tilted her head. And now? I met her eyes. Now I do. She smiled. Soft. Real. The kind of smile that didn't need a filter. And then she kissed me. It wasn't fireworks. It wasn't a storm. It was something quieter. Something that felt like coming home after a long, cold journey. Her lips were warm. Her hand rested gently against my jaw. And for the first time in years, I didn't think about what I'd lost. I thought about what I'd found. When we pulled apart, she laughed, a sound that didn't need an audience. Didn't need applause. It was just hers. Just ours. I don't usually do this, she said, still smiling. Neither do I. Good. She stood, grabbing her bag. Then let's not make it a thing. Let's just see. See what? If this is real. I nodded. I'd like that. She left her number on a napkin. No games. No mystery. Just honesty. Over the next few weeks, we fell into something I didn't have a name for. It wasn't a relationship, not yet. It was softer than that. Gentler. We met for coffee. For walks along the river. For late-night calls where we talked about everything and nothing. She didn't care about my money. She cared about my mind. My heart. The parts of me I'd buried under success and silence. I didn't post about her. Didn't parade her on social media like a trophy. I loved her quietly. The way I should have been loved. And it was enough. One night, we sat on my balcony, the city glowing beneath us like scattered stars. She leaned against my shoulder. Her hand in mine. You know what's funny? She said softly. What? I think the rain finally stopped. I looked down at her. She was smiling. And so was I. Yeah, I whispered, I think it did. For the first time in years, I believed it. A year later, I stood on a stage I never imagined I'd stand on. The TED logo glowed red behind me. 2,000 people filled the auditorium. Millions more would watch online. But in that moment, it felt like I was talking to one person. The younger me. From loser to leader, how pain builds purpose. That was the title of my talk. But it wasn't really about leadership. It was about survival. About transformation. About the moment you realize that your lowest point isn't your ending, it's your beginning. I told them about rejection. About being erased. About watching someone you loved choose someone else and feeling like you were nothing. I didn't name Vanessa. I didn't need to. The story was universal. Pain doesn't disqualify you. I said, my voice steady. It refines you. It shows you what you're made of. And if you let it, it builds something inside you that no one can ever take away. The applause was thunderous. But I barely heard it. Because as I walked off stage, I saw him. He was young, 22, maybe 23. Thin frame. Red eyes. The kind of brokenness I recognized instantly. He approached me carefully, like he wasn't sure he had the right. Can I ask you something? His voice shook. Of course. He swallowed hard. My girlfriend just left me. For someone better. Someone richer. Someone more. His voice cracked. Am I a loser? I put my hand on his shoulder. Felt the weight of his question. Felt the weight of my own past. No, I said firmly. You're just not done yet. He looked up at me, eyes glistening. 3 years, I continued. Give yourself 3 years. Disappear. Build. Become. And then come back as someone even you don't recognize. He nodded slowly. Then faster. 3 years. 3 years. He wiped his eyes. Shook my hand. And walked away with a fire I remembered all too well. I watched him go. And I smiled. Because I knew he'd make it. I got into my car. The city was quiet tonight. Calm. Maya was waiting at home. We were cooking dinner, something simple, something ours. Pasta. Wine. Laughter. I glanced at my phone. One new message. Vanessa. I saw your talk. I'm proud of you. I stared at it for a long moment. Then I deleted it. Because this story was never about her. It was about me. And I finally knew my worth.